Hello and welcome to Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV. My name is Emmanuel Sebastian. It was another beautiful weekend of football in action, and of course, Nigerian footballers aren't left out. Quite, interesting talking points from this weekend regarding Nigerian football and Nigerian footballers. And with that, I'm not alone in the studio today. I have my favorite tag team partners with me in the studio. I'll bring in Shegun on the show, and this man. Let me tell you something about Shegun. He's a Barcelona fan, but this weekend they got beaten by their Air Clasico rivals. But I mean, Shegun is going to have you on the show, back-to-back editions. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, very good. But my weekend was
very what?
There's really no need to say much about my weekend.
So I understand. But sorry about that defeat this past weekend.
It happens.
Like I said, good to have you on the show,
Yeah.
and always good to have you.
Same
and
here.
with your MPFL expertise. I'll bring you on the show later on.
No problem.
I also have with me Bolu on the show as well. Bolu, how are you and how was your weekend?
Yeah, doing well, doing fantastic. It's been a mixed weekend in terms of football, but we're here again to discuss. So excited for that.
All right, it's still Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV, and like I said earlier, this weekend I think it's going to go down as one of the weekend with the most, talking points regarding Nigerian football and Nigerian footballers. So after the short break, we'll get in at the show proper. So don't you go anywhere. It is still Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV. Welcome back, guys. It is still Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV. Let's get in on the show now, guys. Shegun, I'll start with you because you're our MPFL expert. Now, it was the CAF competitions this past weekend. I mean, we have 3 Nigerian teams representing us in the Confederations Cup and in the Champions League. After giving us so much hope from the first leg, Kwara United getting a win at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos, Onikon Stadium. Rivers United did so well against, defending champions. Plateau United against Esperance. These are top teams when it comes to, African football, the Champions League and all that. They went to the second leg. I mean, they all they wutu like they like we say. I mean, they collect. What happened? What happened to Kwara United? What happened to Rivers United? What happened to Plateau United?
All right, so truth be told, shocking results that all 3 collapsed when they needed the results. Like, very shocking from my own perspective. Like, I was expecting that, okay, if out of those 3, if at least one should even pull through, because they all had they had great results in the first leg.
Yeah,
very great results, but going into the second leg, shocking, all of them. But the most painful of it was Plateau United because of the whole controversy surrounding their 1-0 defeats to Esperance. It was obviously a controversial call for that penalty that led to the 1-0. 1-0 and the match finished 1-0. It was quite painful. The team,
the foul was really outside the box.
Because the foul was actually outside the box. It wasn't really inside the box, and the player dived, and it all led to a penalty. So, but at least that was even still. It was just 1-0, but we expected that Fidelis Ilechukwu's boys could at least pull a surprise, because we all know how difficult it is going to North Africa. It's not an easy terrain to. It's not easy terrain to play in normally, and this is like the 3rd time Plateau United is getting to this stage, and they are failing to qualify. So it was a controversial call for Plateau United, and sadly that game ended 1-0, and Fidelis Ilechukwu's boys would be dropping down to the CAF Confederations Cup, which they still have to go and play another playoff. For Rivers United, shocking.
Defending champions.
Yeah, defending champion of
MPFL.
the MPFL. They lost 6-0. I know the red card affected them, but still, I didn't expect that kind of scandalous defeats, losing 6-0. And even though they had a mixture of a blend of 2 experienced managers, Fatai Osho and Stanley Egoma, I was shocked that those, even with coming into that second leg, they had a good result the first leg, so I expected they would build on it as per MPFL champions, but still they dropped off into the now they are going off into the CAF Confederations Cup. Kwara United also losing 2-0 in their fixture again. Those ones are completely out of out of the CAF Confederations tournament. So it was a bad weekend generally for Nigerian football, local football. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was generally a bad weekend, and I just hope the remaining two teams that are still going to vie for the CAF Confederations Cup, because they will still play playoff. I just hope they can do better this time, and at least let's have two Nigerian teams feature in the CAF Confederations. Cup.
Okay, right, Bolu, before we move away from this, what do you make of the officiating? We saw Esperance put out a tweet on, they were congratulating Plateau United for the beautiful football they play,
Exactly.
and something like medicine after that. But
Yeah.
I mean, we also saw the officiating. I mean, these things happen everywhere, or not just African football, but generally. What do you make of the officiating from these games and all that?
Yeah, it was pretty disgraceful, and what most people say, I mean, in instances like that, is African football still needs to develop. We keep
Yeah.
saying that every year, and it seems like it never comes to an end of us saying that African football still needs to develop, because that kind of situation is easily something that goes to the VAR, and they make a very fair call on that. But I don't understand how there was no VAR, and if there was, why it wasn't in use for that kind of situation, because it obviously happened outside the box, and we see a lot of instances like that in football generally, where a foul happens outside the box and players tend to dive into the box just to try to con the referee. So you wonder why in a very high stakes game like that, why a small detail, a small error like that is still happening in a game where it's decisive for the season of both teams. There's a lot of finances involved. It basically, their season is a season defining game, and you let it go down to erroneous officiating. It's pretty disgraceful, and it just feels like we never stop saying this. The African football scene is developed. Officiating scene needs to get to a certain standard that we know is a bit acceptable to a level of for African football, and it's just very bad to see a team go out like that. It's very, very bad, and it puts a lot of their hard work down the drain. And like Shagun said earlier, this is just their third time qualifying to this level of the CAF Confederations Cup, and they still didn't make it again. So it just feels like all the hard work to finally get here, and then nothing still comes of it. It's just pretty disappointing.
All right, sad one for the African teams in the CAF competitions. Remember, Plateau United and Rivers United will be dropping to the Confederations Cup. For Kwara United, they need to try again next season. So there you have it. 6-0 defending champions Rivers United. For Plateau United, 1-0 loss, and for Kwara United, a 2-0 loss right there in Morocco. Guys, another talking point from this past week regarding Nigerian footballers and Nigerian football was the exploit of Francis Uzoho. We saw that game in the Europa League against Manchester United. I mean, Uzoho was trending in the whole world. I mean, the number one talking point. I mean, brilliant game, huge number of saves. And, we know he was going to be in goal for this game because the first choice goalkeeper was injured. And Uzoho got the chance to get in goal for Omonia in that game at Old Trafford against your boyhood team. And you put such performances. I mean, where was this Uzoho all this while? Bolu, let me start with you. Where was this Uzoho all this while? And how big of a performance was that? And how do you think it's going to help him in the future moving forward?
It's basically down to one thing: motivation. Uzoho was in that frame of mind where he was playing the game of his life. Like you said, it's his boyhood team. He has always supported Man United, and it goes back to that tweet he put out when the draws were made. That he's going to, if he gets to play on that day at Old Trafford, he's going to play his life, and that's basically what he did. We are humans, we all have dreams, and when you get to that point where you have a chance to actually play where you've always wanted to play all your life, you have a chance to play 90 minutes that would possibly decide your career path, your life path. And it meant something for him to be in post that day, and it made himself proud, it made his country proud, it made his family proud, and it's a performance that would probably define Uzoho's career from this moment on, and hopefully a lot of good things come from it for him as a football man, and later on in his career, even after he retires, he can always look back on that evening and say his career went up a notch from that moment. And I'm very happy for him personally, because this is someone who has had a difficult year. He's not going to the World Cup this year, and for a player to still have that kind of moment in a World Cup year despite not going to the World Cup, it's special for him. And remember, he was in goal when we lost the playoff to Ghana. He considered the goal, and it was an error from him, but he has since then has actually been in good form. He has tried to build up himself in terms of the Super Eagles. He has put in some very good performances since then. He's been pretty impressive, and doing this as well for his club. That's very good for him, and I hope that his career goes up from here. Not just getting a transfer, but getting a transfer that actually makes sense for him, and actually lifts his career, and hopefully good things happen from now for him.
I mean, we need such performances from Uzoho. I mean, in that game against Ghana, he was crying in the dressing room because he knew he cost the Super Eagles a chance at the World Cup later this year in Qatar, and he needed that moment, something joyful, something to make him happy. 12 saves, 9 inside the box in that game against Manchester United. I mean, Shego, are you one of those unforgiving Nigerians who will still want to, slate this guy, write him off, this Uzoho? Do you think it's a turnaround for him and all that?
Yeah, so this the opportunity he had over the week would be a big turnaround for him, because more eyes will be on him. It was the number one trend on Twitter after that game. Made massive saves in that game, kept Omonia till the last minutes in that game. So definitely more eyes will be on him. Scouts will be watching him more often. More coaches will be aware of Uzoho more often. And I think he would also get a chance to compete for the first choice of his club now, since he did so well against United.
I mean, he shouldn't be second choice in Cyprus.
Exactly, he shouldn't be second choice, but now he was second choice before that game.
I'm sorry, let me cut in real quickly. It would also help his national team chances, because now he has a commendable performance for his club that the whole world saw. So everyone would expect him to be Nigeria's number one naturally. That, this guy is doing so well for his club. He did so well for his club. Why is he not Nigeria's number one? So I think that also helps his national team's chances, in the sense that it gives him a little bit more leeway in terms of that competition with Maduka Okoye, because Maduka is currently not playing for his club, and this is a guy who has been impressive. So I think it also helps his national team chances.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that also. So he would coming into the national team now, since he has put up such an impressive performance, we would all expect he can also turn up for that kind of performance for the national team, and more people would crave for him, or they want him in the national team. So I think it will be like a career-defining moment. That particular match for him, it will be a career-defining moment, and hopefully in January he can get like a better move that he could seal a regular playing spot, and from there we never know, it could be our next Vicente Iyama. From there we never know.
It sparked moments, with Iyama and Messi, Uzoho, taking
Ronaldo.
a picture with Ronaldo and stuff like that. I mean, playing against your boyhood club, meeting your goalkeeper you idolize, and David De Gea, taking pictures with him, all smiles at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a joyful moment for Francis Uzoho.
Yeah, and he was in the zone.
Yeah, it was in the zone as well. That spotlight, it was good to see from Francis Uzoho, and hopefully he gets a move. I mean, I think he's going to move. Yeah, you heard it from me. You can save this record and save it. You heard it from me. January, Uzoho might be making a move to another club. You want to find him and all that. So we wish him all the best at the back of that performance. All right, guys, still Football Cruise. With the final talking point we'll be talking about on the show is going to be concerning that man back from injuries. He doesn't care, still scoring the goals. But do you want to know what our talking point is after this quick break, guys? It is still Football Cruise. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, guys. It is still Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV. Just before we wrap the show today, guys, let's talk about Victor Osimhen. And he sustained that injury against Liverpool in the Champions League, where they won, surprisingly, by 4-1. And ever since he got injured, I mean, the strikers that have come in his stead they've been firing all cylinders. Simeone, Raspadori, scoring goals upon goals. So, concerned Nigerians were thinking, okay, Osimhen might have lost his starting bet at Napoli when he comes back from injury. But I mean, this man, he's come back, he's shown his fighting spirit. 2 games off the bench, got on the score sheet.
2 goals.
I mean, what does that say about Victor Osimhen? Do you think he's undisputed, going to be the first striker for Napoli? I
think Osimhen, generally, the first thing you notice about him and his career is his mentality, which has set him apart from a lot of players in Super Eagles and in Napoli as well. And, Osimhen is someone who, if you've noticed, you've looked at his career through, as someone who always listens to criticism and responds to it. Like he uses it as a fuel for himself. Yeah. And as a goal scorer, it's perfect, because when people say things about you just score a goal and I told you all. And that was what I liked the most about his return against Ajax. The goal that he scored out of nothing. He showed so much anger. And even in his celebration, it was very emotional. I was like,
what?
You scored a tap into an empty net, and you took off your shirt, took off your mask, It was a very emotional celebration, but it shows the mentality of the man being out for so long. He was out at a very crucial moment, because Napoli were playing so well and he went out. And, he has come back. That goal against Ajax came just after Ajax made the game 3-2. It it was a very precarious situation. They could have equalized, very late on in the game, but he made the game fall to made it safe. And 3 days later, he did the same thing again against Bologna. Came on at halftime, scored the winning goal, decisive for them that took them back on top of the table. And what I liked the most about that goal was the fact that when he scored, he went to the bench to celebrate with his teammates that had been playing in his stead, Raspadori, and it just shows his togetherness in the team. It shows the mentality of Osimhen as a player. And I know that Spalletti will be very happy. The Napoli coach will be very happy that his 2 strikers are performing. Now he has different options.
3 strikers.
Yeah, 3 strikers. He has different options, and they're chasing the title, and it's very good for them to have different options. And it also takes the pressure a bit off Osimhen, being the team's number 9, knowing that if he goes off or if he doesn't start the game, the team can always perform without him. And we all know that Osimhen is beginning to have this history of injuries, and unfortunate injuries and all that. So if Napoli as a team have that other option, it takes a little bit of pressure off him as a striker. The team can always get to rest him a bit more, afford him a little more recovery time and all that. So I think in the long run it will be good for Napoli as a team and Osimhen himself. And I'm just excited to see what the competition does to him and his record and his hunger as well.
And talking about mentality, I mean Osimhen, he just doesn't, Raspadori is scoring, but he just doesn't care. He was speaking about Raspadori. He said he knows him, he loves him as a player. He's been following him at Sassuolo, and he likes him and stuff like that. So that tells you he just wants to score his own goals, do his thing, and stuff like that. But you talked about injury, Shegun. I don't know, how do you think? Do you think the injuries are becoming too much for Osimhen? In recent times in Napoli, he's been missing games for Napoli ever since. There's injuries here and there. Do you think it's going to affect his games moving forward, looking at his style of play and stuff like that?
Yeah, so looking at his injury records, it's getting a bit frequent for Osimhen, and it's sad that a player of such quality gets injured and misses so much games. And you can see that some of those injuries are because of his passion for his style. He wants to go into every tackle, he wants to go into every duel, he wants to win. He doesn't care whether you kick him or you knock him off. He just wants to win the ball. It just shows about that elite mentality Osimhen has, and that caused some of his injuries. And going forward, I think he's just a player that Napoli should be able to manage very well. Now that, as I said, the pressure is not so much on Osimhen, because they know, if Osimhen is resting, Raspadori can get the goal, Giovanni Simeone can also get the goal. So I think going forward, Napoli will just find a way to manage him, knowing that they are not 100% reliant on Osimhen for the goals. And I think that also will reduce his injury records. Maybe over time, maybe when Osimhen changes teams, obviously we'll get better medical access, better physios, and that might also help him in future, maybe when he gets to a better team. But for Napoli right now, I think his injury records might reduce a bit, because the pressure is off him to get all of the goals. And so that's just it for Osimhen.
All right, talking about Osimhen, he's still got few records to break before the end of the season. Remember, he scored 14 goals last season. I mean, that's the highest goal in a single season by a Nigerian in Italian top flight.
Yeah.
When Obafemi Martin scored 11 goals playing for Inter Milan, and he also is eyeing that record of Simi Nwankwo, the highest goal scoring Nigerian in the Italian Serie A. That record stands at 30. Osimhen scored 10 in his first season, 14 last season. He's currently on 3, so you can do the maths. So that's 3 goals short of matching that Simi Nwankwo's record. So a lot at stake for Victor Osimhen, and hopefully he stays fit from now till the end of the season. Guys, this is a wrap on today's edition of Football Cruise on Nigeria Footballers TV. Hope you've enjoyed the show today. If you're watching this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications for premium Nigerian football content. It's been a wonderful time on the show. Bolu, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Same here.
And Shegun, good to have you back again on the show.
Same here.
All right, my name is Emmanuel Sebastian. Till we come away again next time, don't forget, keep cruising.